The day my 17-year-old son walked through our front door after meeting his biological father for the first time, I was sitting at the kitchen table. My hands were wrapped around a cold cup of coffee I hadn't touched in hours. I'd been waiting, watching the clock, imagining every possible outcome. And when I heard his key in the lock, my heart stopped, because I knew that in the next few minutes, I might lose him forever. He stood in the doorway. Our eyes met. And then he said 4 words that made me burst into tears. Not words I expected, not the words I feared. He said, "Mom, I chose you." But to understand why those 4 words shattered me, you need to know how we got here. You need to know the whole story. And I'm going to tell you, because maybe someone out there needs to hear it too. I was 22 when I got pregnant. His father, David, was 25. We'd been together for 3 years. High school sweethearts turned young adults trying to figure out life together. When I saw those 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, I was terrified. We weren't married. We barely had stable jobs. But I was also excited. I thought maybe this was our next chapter. I thought we'd figure it out together. I thought a lot of things that turned out to be wrong. I remember the exact moment I told David. We were in his apartment, the one with the broken heater and the leaky faucet that his landlord never fixed. It was February, cold. I'd been holding the secret for 3 days, trying to find the perfect moment. But there's no perfect moment for news like that, is there? So I just said it. Simple and direct. I'm pregnant. The look on his face is burned into my memory. It wasn't joy. It wasn't even shock. It was something worse. It was panic. Pure, unfiltered panic. Like I'd just told him his life was ending. And in his mind, maybe I had. He didn't say anything for what felt like hours, but was probably only 30 seconds. Then he asked, "Are you sure?" As if there was any doubt. As if I'd come to him with this news without being absolutely certain. I nodded. I showed him the test. I'd taken 3, actually, all positive. He stared at those little plastic sticks like they were a prison sentence. What happened next still makes my chest tight when I think about it. He stood up, paced to the window, stared out at the street below for a long time. Then he turned to me and said, "I'm not ready for this. I can't do this. I'm sorry." Just like that. Clinical. Detached. Like he was declining a job offer, not abandoning his child. I asked him what he meant. I needed him to say it clearly. I needed to hear the words so I'd know this was real and not some nightmare. He said he wanted me to, in his words, take care of it. He couldn't be a father. He had plans. He wanted to travel. He wanted to focus on his career. A baby didn't fit into his timeline. Those were his actual words. Timeline. When I told him I was keeping the baby, his face changed. The panic turned to anger. He said I was trapping him. He said I was being selfish. He said if I went through with this, I was on my own. He wouldn't be involved. He wouldn't pay for anything. He wouldn't be a father to a child he didn't want. I left his apartment that night and never went back. I cried the entire drive home. Ugly crying. The kind where you can barely see the road. The kind where you have to pull over twice because you can't breathe. I called my mom from a gas station parking lot and told her everything. She didn't say I told you so, even though she'd never fully trusted David. She just said, "Come home, baby. Come home." The next 9 months were the hardest of my life up until that point. David blocked my number, blocked me on social media, vanished. His family, who I'd spent holidays with, stopped returning my calls. I was erased from his life like I'd never existed. Like the 3 years we'd spent together were nothing. Like the baby growing inside me was nothing. I moved back in with my parents. Got a job waitressing at a diner, even though my feet swelled and my back ached. Saved every penny. Went to every doctor's appointment alone. Sat in those waiting rooms full of couples, holding hands, excited about their futures. And I sat there by myself, filling out forms, circling single on the marital status line. I remember the day I felt him kick for the first time. I was at work, refilling someone's coffee, and suddenly, there it was. This little flutter. This tiny person saying hello. I put my hand on my belly, and I cried right there in the middle of the diner. My boss, Lou, this gruff 60-year-old man who'd seen everything, came over and asked if I was okay. I told him I'd just felt the baby move. He smiled, patted my shoulder, and said, "That's your purpose right there. Don't you forget it." I decided then, that this baby would never feel unwanted, never feel like a burden, never feel like they ruined anyone's timeline. Whatever it took, I would make sure my child felt loved, completely, unconditionally, the way every child deserves. When my son was born on a rainy Tuesday morning in September, it was just me and my mom in that delivery room. No father pacing in the waiting area. No phone calls announcing the arrival. Just us. I held him for the first time, this tiny 7-pound miracle with dark hair and eyes that looked right into mine, and I made him a promise. I whispered it so only he could hear. I said, "I'm going to be enough for you. I promise." I named him Oliver James, not after anyone in particular, just a name I'd always loved. A strong name, a good name, and from that moment on, Oliver became my entire world. Those early years were brutal. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Single motherhood is not for the weak. It's 3 a.m. feedings when you've had 2 hours of sleep. It's choosing between buying diapers or putting gas in your car. It's missing work because your baby is sick and you don't have childcare and you're terrified you'll get fired. It's doing it all alone while watching other families with their neat little units, their 2-parent households, their shared responsibilities. But it was also beautiful. It was Oliver's first smile, his first word, which was mama, his first steps, which he took in our tiny apartment living room while I cheered like he'd just won the Olympics. It was bedtime stories and playground visits and making pancakes on Sunday mornings. It was building a life, just the two of us, and realizing we were okay, more than okay. We were happy. David never reached out, not once, not a birthday card, not a Christmas present, not a single dollar of child support. I could have taken him to court. I probably should have, but I didn't want his money. I didn't want anything from someone who could walk away from their own child. I wanted to prove I could do this without him, and I did. As Oliver grew, the questions started. He was 4 when he first asked, "Where's my daddy?" We were at the park. Another kid's father was pushing them on the swing. Oliver looked at me with those big, curious eyes and asked. I'd prepared for this moment, read books about it, talked to my therapist about the right way to handle it. But when the moment came, all my preparation felt useless. I told him the truth, in age-appropriate terms. I said his father wasn't able to be in his life, but that didn't mean he wasn't loved. I told him some families look different, and ours was just him and me, and that was perfect. He seemed satisfied with that answer. For a while, the questions got harder as he got older. At 7, he asked if his father was dead. I said no. At 9, he asked if his father knew about him. I said yes. At 11, he asked if his father chose to leave. I paused for a long time on that one. Then I said yes. I watched my son's face process that information, the hurt that flickered across his features. And it took everything in me not to track David down and scream at him for making my child feel this pain. But Oliver was resilient, stronger than I ever was at his age. He threw himself into school, into sports, into his friends. He was popular, funny, kind, the kind of kid other parents wish their kids would be more like. Teachers loved him. He made the honor roll every semester, made the varsity soccer team as a freshman, had a tight group of friends who treated our house like a second home. I worked my way up from waitressing to managing the diner, then eventually quit to start my own small business, a catering company. It was hard work, long hours, but it was mine. And it meant I could be more flexible for Oliver, could attend his games, his school events, could be present. Because if I couldn't give him a father, I was damn sure going to give him a present, engaged mother. We were happy. I really believed that. I believed we'd moved past the father-shaped hole in our lives. I believed Oliver had accepted our reality and was thriving despite it. I believed a lot of things, until the summer Oliver turned 16. That's when I found the searches on his laptop. I wasn't snooping. I want to make that clear. His computer was having issues and he asked me to look at it. I opened the browser to check something, and there they were. Dozens of searches. How to find your biological father. DNA testing services. People search by name and city. David's full name. The town where he'd lived when we dated. My stomach dropped. I closed the laptop and sat there for a long time just staring at the wall. I knew this day might come. I'd always known. But knowing something intellectually and experiencing it emotionally are two very different things. And emotionally, I was terrified. I didn't confront Oliver right away. I needed time to process. to figure out how to handle it. But I started noticing other things. How he'd gotten quieter, more withdrawn. How he'd spend hours in his room with the door closed. How he'd started asking me random questions about David. What was he like? What did he look like? Did I have any pictures? I'd thrown away every picture of David years ago, deleted every digital trace. It was my way of moving on. But now I wondered if that was a mistake. If I had erased a piece of Oliver's history that he had a right to know. One night, about 3 weeks after finding those searches, I knocked on Oliver's door. He was lying on his bed, headphones on, staring at the ceiling. I asked if we could talk. He sat up, pulled off his headphones, and looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Guilty, maybe, or defiant, or both. I told him I'd seen the searches. I didn't want to lie or pretend I didn't know what was going on. His face flushed red. He started to apologize, but I stopped him. I said he had nothing to apologize for. It was natural to be curious, to have questions, to want to know where he came from. Then he asked me the question I'd been dreading. He said, "Would you be mad if I tried to find him?" And I had to be honest. I said I wouldn't be mad, but I was scared. Scared of what he might find. Scared of getting hurt. Scared of losing him. Oliver did something then that broke my heart in the best way. He moved across the bed and hugged me. This teenage boy, who was usually too cool for hugs, wrapped his arms around me and said, "You're never going to lose me, Mom. Never. I just need to know who he is. I need to see his face. I need to understand why. But you're my mom. That's never going to change." I wanted to believe him. I held on to those words like a lifeline. But deep down, I was still terrified. Oliver found David 2 months later. It wasn't hard. Social media makes finding people terrifyingly easy. David still lived in the same city, about 2 hours away. He was a sales manager at a tech company. Married. No other kids, which felt like another knife to the gut. He chose not to have children. Not that he couldn't, that he didn't want to, including the one he already had. Oliver showed me David's profile. I hadn't seen his face in 16 years. He looked older, obviously. A little heavier, receding hairline, but still recognizable. Still the man who'd once told me he loved me, then abandoned me when I needed him most. Oliver asked if he could reach out, contact David, maybe meet him. I wanted to say no. Wanted to protect my son from the rejection I knew was coming. Because men like David don't change. Men who walk away from their pregnant girlfriends don't suddenly become father material 16 years later. But I also knew I couldn't stop him. He was 16, almost 17. He'd find a way regardless. And if I tried to prevent it, I'd become the villain in his story. So I said yes. But I made him promise me something. I made him promise that if David hurt him, he'd let me be there for him. That he wouldn't shut me out. He promised. Oliver sent David a message through Facebook. I know because he showed me before he sent it. It was simple, direct. "Hi, my name is Oliver James. I'm your son. I'd like to meet you if you're willing." We waited 3 days for a response. 3 days where Oliver checked his phone every 5 minutes. 3 days where I watched my son's hope and anxiety battle on his face. 3 days where I barely slept, running through every possible scenario in my head. On the 3rd day, David replied. Oliver was at school. I was home working on invoices for my catering business when my phone buzzed. Oliver had given me access to his Facebook temporarily, so I could see if David responded. I opened the message with shaking hands. It said, "Hi, Oliver. I was wondering if this day would come. Yes, I'm willing to meet. Let me know when and where." That was it. No apology, no explanation, no emotion. Just a clinical agreement to a meeting, like scheduling a business appointment. But Oliver was thrilled. He called me from school during lunch, voice high with excitement. "He wants to meet me, Mom. He actually wants to meet me." I tried to be supportive, tried to be happy for him. But all I could think was, please don't hurt my son. Please don't break his heart the way you broke mine. They arranged to meet on a Saturday afternoon at a coffee shop in a neutral city, halfway between our town and David's. Oliver asked if I wanted to come with him. Part of me desperately wanted to be there, wanted to protect him, wanted to see David's face and ask him how he could do this, how he could throw away his own child like garbage and just move on with his life. But I knew this was something Oliver needed to do alone, so I said no. I told him I'd be waiting at home, that he could call me any time, that I'd come get him if he needed me, that I loved him no matter what. The morning of the meeting, Oliver was a mess. changed his outfit 4 times, kept checking his hair in the mirror, asked me a dozen times if he looked okay. I wanted to cry watching him. My son, this almost man who was still so much a boy, trying so hard to impress a father who'd never earned the title. I drove him to the coffee shop, offered one more time to stay. He shook his head, kissed my cheek, and said, "I've got this, Mom." Then he walked inside and I drove away, tears streaming down my face. I went home and tried to distract myself, cleaned the kitchen, started a load of laundry, attempted to watch TV but couldn't focus. My mind was in that coffee shop, imagining the conversation, imagining David's face, imagining my son's disappointment when he realized his father wasn't what he'd hoped for. 2 hours passed. No call, no text. I told myself that was good. That meant they were talking. That meant it was going well. But another part of me wondered if something was wrong. If Oliver was hurt and too upset to call. If David had said something cruel and Oliver had shut down. 3 hours. Still nothing. I called twice. Went straight to voicemail. I started getting dressed to drive back there. Then my phone rang. Oliver. I answered before the first ring finished. "Mom?" His voice was strange. Flat. I couldn't read it. "Are you okay? Do you need me to come get you?" "No, I'm done. I'm getting an Uber. I'll be home in about an hour." "How did it go?" Silence. Then, "We'll talk when I get home." That hour was the longest of my life. I stood at the window watching for the Uber, pacing, praying, preparing myself for whatever state my son would be in when he walked through that door. And then he was there, standing in the doorway, looking at me with eyes that had seen too much too soon. And I waited for him to speak, waited to pick up the pieces. He came inside, dropped his backpack, sat at the kitchen table. I sat across from him and waited. Finally he spoke. "He's not what I thought he'd be." "What do you mean?" "I thought there'd be some big reason, you know. Some huge explanation for why he left, why he never reached out. I thought maybe he'd been sick, or his family had forced him, or something. Some reason that would make it make sense." He paused, but there wasn't. What did he say? He said he was young and scared, that he wasn't ready, that he thought it was better to not be involved than to be a bad father. He said it was the hardest decision he ever made. Oliver laughed, but there was no humor in it. "He actually said that, Mom. The hardest decision. Like it was this noble sacrifice." My hands clenched into fists under the table. He asked about my life, school, sports, friends. I told him everything, showed him pictures, and he just nodded and smiled like he was talking to a stranger's kid. There was no connection, no emotion. It was like having coffee with someone you met on a dating app, not meeting your father for the first time. "I'm so sorry, Oliver." He shook his head. "Don't be. I needed this. I needed to see him, to understand." He looked at me then, really looked at me. He asked if I wanted to stay in touch, maybe meet up regularly, build a relationship. My heart stopped. "What did you say?" I asked him why. Why now? Why after 16 years? And you know what he said? He said he'd always wondered about me, that he'd thought about reaching out but never knew how, that he was glad I'd made the first move because now we could get to know each other. Oliver's voice got hard. He made it sound like he was doing me a favor, like I should be grateful he was giving me the opportunity to have a father. "Oliver," I told him no. My son's eyes met mine. I told him that I didn't need a father who wondered about me from a distance for 16 years. I told him I already have a parent, one who showed up every single day, one who worked 2 jobs to make sure I had what I needed, one who came to every soccer game, every school concert, every parent-teacher conference, one who held me when I cried and celebrated every achievement, and never once made me feel like I was a burden or a mistake. The tears I'd been holding back started falling. I told him that DNA doesn't make you a father. Being there does. And he was never there. You were. Oliver stood up and came around the table. I told him that I came to meet him because I needed to see who he was. But now that I have, I realize I don't need anything from him. I have everything I need. He hugged me then, and I sobbed into his shoulder. 17 years of fear and doubt and worry just pouring out. He held me and let me cry and whispered, "It's okay, Mom. It's okay." When I finally pulled myself together, I asked him, "Are you sure? You don't have to make this decision right now. You can think about it." He shook his head. "I'm sure. I saw him, Mom. And all I could think was this man gave up being part of my life. He gave up knowing me. He gave up all the moments, all the memories, all the love. And for what? Because he was scared? Because it wasn't convenient? Oliver wiped his own eyes. That's not a father. That's a coward. And I don't need a coward in my life. Over the next few weeks, David sent several messages. Asked if Oliver had thought about his offer. Said they could take it slow. Build a relationship gradually. Each message felt more desperate than the last, like he was realizing what he'd lost. Oliver didn't respond to any of them. Eventually, they stopped. A few months later, Oliver and I were driving home from one of his soccer games. They'd won, and he was in a good mood. Out of nowhere, he said, "You know what the weirdest part of meeting him was?" "What?" "I didn't feel anything. I thought I'd feel anger or sadness or something, but I just felt nothing. He's a stranger, and I realized that's all he'll ever be." He looked at me. "But you, Mom, you're everything. You're my whole world, and I'm sorry I ever made you doubt that." "You never made me doubt anything, Oliver." "I kind of did, when I started searching for him. I saw how scared you were, like you thought I'd replace you or something." "I was scared," I admitted. "Terrified, actually." "You shouldn't have been, because there's no replacing you. You're irreplaceable." He grinned. "Even when you're embarrassing me in front of my friends." I laughed through tears. "That's my job. I know, and you're really good at it." Looking back now, I'm grateful for that day. Grateful that Oliver met David. Not because David deserved to meet him, but because Oliver needed to see for himself what I'd always known. That being a parent isn't about biology. It's about showing up. It's about sacrifice. It's about love that doesn't waver when things get hard. I learned something too. I learned that the bond I built with my son over 16 years of bedtime stories and homework, help and soccer practices and late-night talks couldn't be broken by a man who shared his DNA. Love isn't measured in genetic markers. It's measured in moments, in presence, in consistency. To every single mom reading this, every woman who's terrified that one day your child will want to know their other parent, hear me. If you've shown up, if you've loved them unconditionally, if you've been present through every scraped knee and every triumph and every disappointment, you have nothing to fear. Because real love, the kind that's built day by day, year by year, that's unshakable. My son met his biological father, and he walked away, not out of anger or spite, but out of clarity. He saw what was real and what was just biology, and he chose love. He chose me. Not because he had to, but because over 17 years, I'd earned it. That's what being a parent really means. It's not about perfection. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being there, consistently, unconditionally, completely. And if you're doing that, if you're showing up every day for your child, then you're enough. More than enough. You're everything they need. David thought he could walk back into Oliver's life after 16 years and claim the title of father. But fatherhood isn't a title you can claim. It's a role you earn, every single day. And I earned it. Not because I'm Oliver's biological parent, but because I was there, every day, without fail, without hesitation. That's the difference between a parent and a biological contributor. One stays, one shows up. One loves without condition. The other just provides half the DNA. Oliver is 18 now, about to graduate high school, heading to college in the fall on a partial soccer scholarship. He's grown into an incredible young man, kind, confident, compassionate, everything I'd hoped he'd be and more. And when people ask him about his family, he doesn't hesitate. He says, "It's just me and my mom, and that's all I've ever needed." Those words still make me cry. Happy tears, proud tears, because I did it. We did it, against all odds, despite the abandonment, despite the struggles, despite the fear. We built something beautiful, a family, not a traditional one, but a real one, a strong one. Sometimes at night, when the house is quiet and Oliver is asleep in his room, I think about that scared 22-year-old girl sitting in a gas station parking lot, crying because the father of her baby had abandoned her. I wish I could go back and tell her it's going to be okay. More than okay. I wish I could tell her that the baby growing inside her will become her greatest achievement, her proudest accomplishment, her entire world. I wish I could tell her that being a single mom isn't a tragedy. It's not a sentence. It's not a life of struggle and sacrifice with no reward. Yes, it's hard. Yes, there are moments of bone-deep exhaustion and fear and doubt, but there are also moments of pure, perfect joy. Moments where you realize you created this incredible human being, and you did it with nothing but love and determination and sheer willpower. I wish I could tell her that 17 years later, her son will meet his biological father and walk away. And in that moment, she'll realize that every sleepless night, every missed opportunity, every sacrifice was worth it. Because she won. Not in a petty, vindictive way, but in the way that really matters. She won her son's heart, his respect, his love, and no absent father can ever take that away. To every woman raising a child alone, whether by choice or by circumstance, I want you to know something. You are enough. Your love is enough. Your presence is enough. Don't let anyone make you feel less than because your family doesn't look like a magazine cover. Don't let anyone make you doubt your worth as a parent just because you're doing it alone. Because here's the truth that took me years to understand. You're not doing it alone. Your child is right there with you, building this life together. You're a team, a partnership, a unit, and that's more powerful than any traditional family structure. My son met his real father, the man who's been there since day one. Every morning when he looks in the mirror and sees the strength I gave him, the resilience I taught him, the love I showed him, that's his real father, me, because I filled both roles. I was both mother and father. I was everything he needed. And when he walked away from David that day, he wasn't walking away from a father. He was walking away from a stranger who thought biology was enough, who thought showing up after 16 years and saying, "I'm ready now," would be sufficient. But my son knew better, because I taught him better. I taught him that love is action, not words, that family is built, not born, that the people who matter are the ones who stay, not the ones who share your blood. So yes, my son met his biological father, and he walked away. He walked away from empty promises and convenient timing and too little too late apologies. He walked away from a man who wanted credit without putting in the work. And he walked back to me, the parent who earned the title, the parent who showed up, the parent who loved him before he was born and will love him until the day I die. That's the real story. Not that his father abandoned him, but that I didn't. Not that David walked away, but that I stayed. Not that Oliver met his biological father and was disappointed, but that he already had everything he needed at home. And that, to me, is the definition of family. Not blood, not biology, not tradition, but choice. Oliver chose me, and I chose him. From the moment I saw those 2 pink lines on that pregnancy test, I chose him. Every single day since, I've chosen him. And that choice, that daily commitment to love and protect and nurture, that's what makes me his real parent. The only one that matters. So to every biological father out there who thinks you can walk back into your child's life whenever it's convenient, let me tell you something. You can't. You had your chance. You made your choice. And when your child is old enough to understand what you did, to see you for what you really are, they'll make their choice too. And more often than not, they'll choose the parent who stayed, the parent who showed up, the parent who loved them when it was hard, when it was inconvenient, when it meant sacrificing everything else. They'll choose real love over biology. Every time. My son did. And I've never been more proud of him, or more grateful for the journey that brought us here. We made it. Just the 2 of us. And we're going to be just fine.